Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah Almighty's divine peace and light and strength and healing and guidance be with you, with me, with all of us, inshallah. In this ongoing series of videos of why do we fast in Ramadan, one of the main reasons, one of the other most important reasons to fast during the month of Ramadan is to develop fortitude, mental toughness, strength, resilience, persistence. It's an essential quality, it's an essential characteristic for a human being to succeed in life, but especially for a believer who's walking the path of faith. The road is long, the journey is difficult, and one must have fortitude. One must have mental toughness. And so when you commit to fasting for 30 days, to refraining and to restraining yourself from food and from drink and from convenience for extended periods of time, it's a difficult thing. One of the most difficult things for human beings to do is to fast, to restrain themselves from that which the ego likes and loves and depends on: food, sustenance, nourishment. It's one of the most challenging things for the ego to do. You know, there have been so many studies in terms of human health and wellness, and they've concluded that by studying on animals such as rats, that one of the most powerful ways to increase longevity and health in an animal, in a creature, is to reduce its caloric intake. And historically, they've had very difficult times doing human studies because they've been unable to find enough people willing to restrict their caloric intake for the length of the study, right? For an extended period of time, to fast, to eat at least 30% less of what they normally eat. They've had a difficult time finding people willing to do that, because it's difficult for the human being. It's challenging for the ego to deny itself pleasure and joy. And food, you know, it's one of the ni'mas of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's one of the grace, one of the blessings that God has given us. And you really begin to understand the value of the most basic and simple foods when you're fasting. And we enjoy it, and it's pleasurable. So one of the most difficult things for the ego, for the human, for the self, for the nafs to do is to deny itself things that it enjoys. And fasting gives you the power to do that. It gives you the toughness, the strength, the resilience, the fortitude, the focus to regain control over the self. So when we commit to a 30-day long fast to essentially deny ourselves that which we enjoy and that which we've come to depend on, that which we come to really look towards for relief and even for emotional stability at times, right? When we deny ourselves and we commit to a 30-day fast, it requires mental toughness, it requires fortitude, and you begin to develop fortitude. And in the beginning, it may be difficult, right? It will be difficult. In fact, if it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't be worth it. If it wasn't difficult, it wouldn't be beneficial. Growth only takes place when you push your limits beyond your comfort zone. There's no growth in the domain of comfort. And this is why the Prophet ﷺ seldom allowed himself to become comfortable in anything, right? And that's an entirely different topic and an important one. But it is difficult, especially in the beginning, right? That first week of fasting usually is the toughest. And also the last part of the fast can be quite tough, because that really requires fortitude to push through to the end. After about 15 or 20 days of fasting, you start to become weary if you're not focused and if you're not motivated. And then it's just like, when is this going to be over? But with fortitude and with focus, you will succeed. And so fasting requires, especially the fast of Ramadan, it requires fortitude, it requires strength, it requires resilience, it requires focus, it requires determination, it requires mental toughness, it requires persistence. And so you develop those qualities. When it's tough, then you've got a choice. And there really isn't much choice. Fasting is required. There's no way around it. So you've got a choice: to suffer through it or to toughen up, to warrior up, to strengthen up, and to push through it with himma, with strength, with resilience. And the amazing thing is that when you feel like you are lacking energy, when you're feeling weak and lazy and lethargic because you're fasting and because you're tired and because you're hungry, you begin to discover that you have a choice: to remain in that state or to literally pull yourself up and out of that state and into an energetic state purely through the power of your will. There's this amazing thing also that's been discovered, that human beings have the capacity to generate energy at will. It is possible. And it's been said that when you need to do something and you don't feel like doing it, when you feel like you're unmotivated and you don't have the energy to do it, just do the thing and you will discover the energy required to do that thing. For example, going to the gym and working out and exercise, you may not feel like doing it. You may be extremely tired, you may not be feeling well, but if you get to the gym and you start moving and you start stretching and you start walking on the treadmill and slowly running or jogging and lifting, you're going to find energy coming. This is one of the amazing things about the human body and about the human being, is that it will respond to the necessity and to the demand placed upon it. It will generate the energy. Your system will recalibrate itself. It'll optimize itself. It'll pull energy from sources that are dormant when you're required to do so. And again, why fasting is so powerful, because it optimizes your system. It makes your system run absolutely efficiently, especially if you're fasting well and with excellence. For example, like we really try to focus on in the Ramadan Success Program, about fasting with excellence, eating well, exercising, etc., right? Keeping to that level of real excellence in your fast, your body's going to become hyper optimized, hyper efficient, hyper clean, hyper healthy and strong. So really, those are a lot of other topics, but the one that I wanted to really focus on this one is fortitude. When we look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had a tremendous fortitude against insurmountable opposition. He never quit, he never gave up, even when everything was against him and the entire world was against him. In the beginning, he never quit, he never gave up. There were times where he and his companion were so forlorn, so weary, so hungry that they didn't have the strength to stand at times, but they never gave up. They had the fortitude and the mental toughness to persist. The most important and the most historic battle in the history of Islam, the Battle of Badr, when the Muslims had finally migrated to Medina. They were given refuge in Medina because they were being persecuted and hunted and killed and abused and tortured in Mecca. The people in Medina and Yathrib, they welcomed them to come, and they welcomed the Prophet ﷺ to Medina. So they traveled to Medina. They were still very small in number. And the Quraysh at that time, in a final attempt to wipe out the Muslims once and for all, because now they had safe refuge in Medina, and they could preach and they could share the light of Islam openly. And more people were coming to Islam, right, by droves. People were embracing Islam left and right, in groups, in communities, even in tribes. And so the Quraysh, this was of course threatening them, and they saw one last attempt to wipe out the Muslim community, right, at the beginning, right in their inception. As soon as they began to establish a community, they said, this is it, we have to wipe them out. It's now or never. And so that led to the Battle of Badr, which took place in the month of Ramadan. Fighting to defend themselves, to survive, fighting for survival, and they were outnumbered 3-1 in that battle. There were 313 or so Muslims, fighters, believers, against over 1,000 Quraysh, and they won that battle. Now that took fortitude, that took faith, that took strength of heart. That's the only thing that enabled them to survive and to succeed. Fortitude and faith, these go together. And so this blessed month of Ramadan grants us an amazing opportunity to develop fortitude and to really develop faith, right? It really comes down to faith, to iman, to himmah, to strength of faith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you, bless you, increase your faith, my faith inshallah, all of us together. May we rise to the light, to the greatness, to the beauty, to the strength, to the nobility that Islam seeks to guide humanity towards. May we regain our divine purpose in a world that is developed and designed at this point to rob human beings of purpose. Ramadan, excuse me, Ramadan is an amazing opportunity to recalibrate, to refocus, and to discover your divine potential. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. Inshallah ta'ala we'll see you in another video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.